You know, a lot's been made of Klay Thompson going 0 for 10 in an elimination game, and I understand it. Trust me, I get it. You the second best shooter of all time, and you went 0 for 10? What the? Come on, what's going on? But I think it also doesn't take a genius to know that Klay Thompson just didn't feel right. He just wasn't in the right headspace, and we heard reports all year about it. It's absolutely insane, maniacal even, that people think Klay is just gonna be washed up in a Mavericks uniform. And before we even get into this deep dive, or I wouldn't even call it a deep dive, but before we really get into this, I just want to say this. If you think Klay Thompson is not gonna have the most open shots of his career playing next to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, you're crazy. If you think Klay Thompson's gonna have career disappointing shooting seasons or performances with the Mavericks, I think you're crazy. And above all else, it stems from having two of the greatest, and I mean greatest scorers in the league right now on his team, and that's Kyrie and Luka Doncic. And they're gonna open up the floor for Klay he's gonna get shots that he's never gotten before. Now, admittedly, it won't be completely open, but it will be much more open than what we saw with him in a Warriors uniform. And I think that's going to prove useful to this team, a team who struggled to shoot the three in the playoffs, which ultimately ended up seeing them get walked by the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. Now, before we do hop into the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you are new. If you're not new, comment down below what you think Klay Thompson is going to do in a Mavericks jersey. I think you're beside yourself if you think Klay Thompson is not a supreme upgrade over Tim Hardaway Jr., but that's neither here nor there. And let's hop into the video. The Dallas Mavericks are coming off one of their most successful seasons in franchise history. The team advanced to the NBA Finals for the third time in their team's history, and we saw the progression of All-Star Luka become one of the greatest point guards in the league this year. One reason Dallas did well was, of course, their improvement on the interior defensive side of the ball. They added size. Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, they were integral to this team defensively. NBA.com even ranked Dallas 5th in opponents' points in the paint after the All-Star break. The acquisitions of these two, they played a key role in helping the Mavs make a deep run, and I did detail this in a video earlier this year. If you haven't watched that already, go ahead and do that. With that said, the Mavs' improved defense took a hit in the finals when Dallas fell in 5 games to the Celtics. The team's defense struggled to contain the Celtics' offense, and admittedly, Boston just has an amazing team top to bottom. And they, of course, beat the Mavericks in various ways. The offense, though, it failed to match the Celtics' points per game. And I think that's where it really comes to a head. Because while Boston is an amazing team on both sides of the ball, one thing that a lot of us thought Dallas could hang their hat on was the fact that they had one of the best scorers in the league in Luka, and they had one of the best offensive players we've ever seen in all time in Kyrie Irving. But they struggled, and even still, as I mentioned before, Tim Hardaway, he also struggled to become a reliable option. Dallas just couldn't find a third scoring option to help these two. And Tim Hardaway, his numbers took a hit in the playoffs, and he was that guy that was looked to help them. Of course, being the theme to this video, Dallas acquired Klay Thompson in what was a monumental move. I think a lot of people, it skated under their radars, but when I sat there and started to think about it a little bit more over time, not the fact that he decided to go play with Luka over LeBron, but more so, how is this gonna set up Klay for success in the latter end of his career? Of course, Dallas completed a 6-team sign-in trade to acquire Klay, and Dallas had been a rumored suitor for Thompson for months, and they got their guy locked up for 3 years, a couple days into free agency. So it's safe to say Klay was very enamored by going to Dallas. Acquiring Klay became the Mavs' biggest offseason priority, and him signing with Dallas shows that they are finally an attractive destination for free agents. Now, admittedly, I believe Dallas was always an attractive place for free agents. If we look at a lot of these podcasts, player podcasts specifically, they talk about how once Mark Cuban became an owner of this team, he made it so much different for players, not only his home players, but away players. I recall, if I'm not mistaken, Gilbert Arenas even saying that Mark Cuban was one of the first guys to actually have a meal for the road trip team. And that's big because a player looking at that goes, if you're doing that for the road trip player, what are you doing for your team? And we all know Mark Cuban has always been a player's kind of owner, and he loves the sport of basketball. So when it comes to coming to Dallas, I think this is going to be an attractive destination for years to come, especially with the boom in Dallas and Texas as a whole. And not to mention, if we're talking about more adult things, Texas as a whole is just a very cheap place to live. Taxes are very, very low, and Klay can probably recoup a lot of the money he lost in taxes playing in California all of those years. Now, of course, we know Dallas has struggled to land big fish in free agency over the last couple years. Kyrie Irving re-signing with the Mavs last summer, I think really did help Thompson come, and we've even heard how he's helped Thompson get there by speaking to him over the offseason. Even Jared Dudley said that the Mavs are going to get Klay Thompson involved in the offense in creative ways. Dudley even said himself that they don't just want Thompson to sit in the corner, and the Mavs could become more dangerous than originally expected if they find the right way to utilize Klay's game. Thompson thrived in Golden State due to his ability to move without the ball, flare and curl off of screens, and knock down open and contested shots. The Warriors were obviously notorious for setting screens that didn't really get called. I won't call them illegal because they're not illegal if they're not called, but these did help Klay get open. And if the Mavs start to incorporate some of these actions off the ball to get him open, the rest of the league should definitely watch out. Because if we're really thinking about it, most teams are honing in on Kyrie and Luka, most specifically Luka Doncic. We already know Klay is nearly unstoppable off of the catch, and his shooting expertise combined with Luka's shot creation is going to be deadly. Luka creates open looks for teammates that we don't even know is open at this point. Remember when we saw Luka against the Lakers this past year, and he passed that pass behind our big's head to the top of the key for a three? I don't even remember who it was to, but what I do remember is Luka made something out of nothing, and when you have a guy like Klay on your team, this is going to be even easier than we've ever seen before. Klay Thompson is one player who could help the team overcome their finals lows and lack of scoring. The newest Mavs has all the intangibles to elevate this team's offense. He's a four-time NBA champion, four-time All-Star with plenty of experience, and his championship pedigree stands out compared to other offseason acquisitions while being on one of what was arguably the greatest team of all time. Last season, Tim Hardaway Jr. was this team's third leading scorer as he averaged just 14.5 points a game while shooting 40.2%. But the issue though was his playoff slump. He averaged 4.4 points a game, shooting 37.9% from the field. His struggles became even more noticeable in the finals where he had 3 games of 0 points. Now, if y'all think Klay is doing that, I don't care about that 0 for 10 elimination game. If you think Klay is doing that in 3 games, you're out of your mind, or you're just a disrespectful hater that does not like Klay Thompson. Simple as that. Klay will have no problem filling his shoes. Last year, Klay averaged 18 points per game, converting 40% of his attempted 3-point shots. This adjustment should be a smooth transition as Thompson will be going from a number 2 option to a number 3 option, which, like I said, means more open looks. We've even heard Shams come out and say he thinks Klay fits perfectly there as the 3-man and somebody that they're gonna rely on. And the thing I like about Klay being moved down to the 3rd option mostly is the fact that he's more so on the tail end of his career. He's at a point where that 1st or 2nd role option work, it's a lot for him right now. But that 3rd option might just be perfect, especially with a guy like Luka on his team. The newest Mav will play a huge role in helping alleviate pressure off of Doncic and Irving on the offensive side, while also being a very, very valuable defender. His shooting numbers should skyrocket with an increased number of opportunities, and Klay will become an elite weapon for the Mavs offense. His off-the-ball game will play wonders for a team desperate for a 3rd scoring option, and above all else, we cannot forget they still had their defensive pieces that they picked up last year. The Dallas Mavericks are poised to go on another run, and not so much like a luck run that we saw last year. This is going to be a run where this team is a powerhouse in the Western Conference. Now, it will take some time to get that going, but I think Klay Thompson's shooting and experience will bring that championship aura to Dallas, and as a whole, Mavs fans will be in for a treat this season. A treat that I don't think a lot of them are expecting because they are going under the radar in a lot of ways. But myself, I think Klay Thompson propels them back to being able to be a finals type of team the same way we saw last year. They propelled to the NBA finals. And with Klay Thompson, I think he might make a better match against the Boston Celtics. That's not to say they'll beat the Celtics because I do still think the Celtics are going back to back. However, Dallas will give them a better run for their money. It might even go to 6, and if it goes to 6, worry about seeing Game 6 Klay for maybe one of the last times in his career. And if we see that, Dallas might just pull it off and win their, their second ring, third ring? I don't really know. Regardless, I want to see the Dallas Mavericks successful. That's all I got for you guys in this video. Of course, if you disagree with me, say how you disagree with me in the comments. If you don't disagree, I mean, you can say why you don't disagree and argue with the people that disagree in the comments, because I'm not about to do it. Y'all better do it for me. But that's all I got for you guys. It's your boy TB with the greatest hoop stories and debates on the tube. And as always, I will see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.